Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi is the Democrat from Illinois, the ranking member on the US House Select Committee on China's Communist Party. He's with me now. Sir, I read your latest comments about this meeting, and you're walking a fine line between the stick and the carrot, saying we can't let this thing fall apart, but actually we've got to take a much harder line. So which is it, stick or carrot?
I think it's a little bit of both. We have to walk and chew gum, to use another metaphor. I think that the issue here is that at the same time that we take steps to protect our interests, protect our values, equip our friends and allies with what they need to deter aggression, we need to have an open dialogue. And that means, for instance, establishing military to military communications. It means establishing a working group to deal with the problem of fentanyl, which you alluded to. So I think we have to do all of these things in order to try to stabilize this relationship.
But that is the, if you will, that's sort of the housekeeping bit in a way. I mean, the fentanyl is extremely important, but it doesn't get to the heart of it. It doesn't get to the heart of US concerns over unfair competition. Chinese now believing that Chinese companies unfairly penalized in terms of reporting in the United States. And then as we go up the list, you start to get to the geopolitics, whether it be Ukraine and China's position with Putin, or the way at the apex, you've got Taiwan.
I think all of those topics have to be discussed today, and I think they will be. With regard to the economic aggression that the CCP practices, I think that will be uppermost in the discussions, because that's what I hear from my constituents all the time, Richard. I hear about the incessant cyber hacking, the theft of intellectual property. I hear about the dumping of economic goods that basically destroy American businesses and jobs. And I think that that is something that's going to come on the agenda. And I think the president will probably tell Xi Jinping, look, I know that you have economic problems yourself internally. Those problems don't become easier to deal with by increasing economic aggression against other countries, right, because they're going to follow our lead in protecting their interests as well.
How relevant do you think it is, the prospect of a return of Donald Trump after next year? In a sense, the Chinese, I mean, bearing in mind the tit-for-tat trade barriers that were put on by both sides, many of which were never reversed, by the way, but the Chinese surely will be doing what the Europeans are also saying when Biden first met them, which is, hang on, how do we know how long you're going to be here? How do we know what comes next? And we're back to square one.
Well, I think last night, Donald Trump actually called Xi Jinping in a speech a piece of steel, strong and smart. So I'm not really sure how Xi Jinping thinks about Donald Trump at this point. And I think that type of statement, by the way, probably gives our allies and friends pause and gives comfort to our adversaries, including folks in Russia and elsewhere. But the bottom line is this: President Biden is, in my opinion, going to get reelected, but his policies are ones that have commanded a lot of respect and support across the aisle. And I think that whether it comes to increased restrictions on exports or increased restrictions on investments, I think those will stay regardless of who's president.
You see, I wonder, Congressman, whether you're trying to have it both ways, which wouldn't be the first time for a politician to talk
Congressman
about that.
trying to have it both ways, Richard? I don't know what you mean.
You say the United States needs to aggressively use its trade tools to protect itself from unfair economic practices. But then you admit it's a contest over competing values, economic models, and visions for the world. In that scenario, at best, you end up with only being able to do the housekeeping, the fentanyl, which is important. You do the stuff sort of that just keeps the train on the tracks, if you will, which I'm not saying isn't important, but it doesn't get to a deeper relationship.
It all depends on this, Richard. It depends on whether Xi Jinping is going to change course or not.
He's not.
Now, I think the odds are that he's not. Okay, the odds are that he's not going to change course, in which case we have to protect our interests and our values and take countermeasures against aggression. However, I will respectfully point out that when his zero COVID policies utterly failed, he turned his policies on a dime, 180 degrees, and did the very opposite the next day of what he was doing the previous day. And that is in part what I hope there's a modest chance might happen with at least some of his policies going forward, especially given his economic woes at home.
Congressman, it's always good to see you. Always grateful when you give us time on Quest Means Business. Thank you, sir. It's appreciated.
Thank you.